A show created by the fans, for the fans. We are your home for Ohio State football coverage all year long. The Scarlet and Gray Podcast, a Network 216 production. Live weekdays on the Network 216 YouTube channel. Send us all your questions and comments on Twitter at @VSG_podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Tyler Johnson, Jordan Dalton, and Nick Leisure.
Good morning, Buckeye Nation, and welcome to another Ohio State Game Day preview. I am Tyler Johnson, as always, joined by Nick Leisure, Jordan Dalton. Gentlemen, Buckeye football is back after what was a really just weird timing bye week. How are you guys doing this morning?
Doing well.
TJ, how many times do I have to tell you? Improvement week.
It's a bye week, whether they call it improvement week or not. It's a bye week.
You better see them put up 100 if they want to be it.
Nah, dude, feeling great. Big noon kickoff today, so don't really have much to complain about. That just shows you how bad the slate of games is this week. So,
yeah. No, that's a really good point for sure. But before we get to all of it, guys, as a reminder, drop a like on today's video if you would, please. Subscribe if you are brand new to the channel as well. Also, if you are watching us at your tailgate or wherever you might be listening to us, feel free to drop a comment as well. We had a lot of people commenting where they were watching from a couple weeks ago, so please keep doing that. We'd love to see where you guys are tuning in from. It's awesome just seeing Buckeye fans across the country. So be sure to do that for us, and then tweet at us at the SG_podcast on Twitter. So, gentlemen, the Marshall Thundering Herd are making their way to Columbus. They are 1-1, currently tied for first in the Sun Belt, but again, they haven't played any conference games yet. Marshall beat Stony Brook and lost to Virginia Tech. That's all they've played so far. They also had a bye week last week. So like I said, kind of just weird timing considering this game could have been played last week. I don't know. But definitely a little strange there. Marshall is breaking in a new starting quarterback. Stone Earl is taking over for them. Keep in mind, they do have Chad Pennington's son on the roster. He doesn't really seem to play, apparently, which is a little bit surprising considering he's a starter on College Football 25. So I just figured that means that he was a beast anyway. But Marshall's coming to town. Probably the biggest test for the Buckeyes so far, I would say. Western Michigan didn't provide one. We know Akron didn't. Do you expect Marshall to put up a little bit more of a fight for the Buckeyes, or do you think this is just going to be another day where the Buckeyes are just going to steamroll another mid-major opponent?
Yeah, I think this is going to be pretty similar to those MAC games in terms of competition. Just expecting, honestly, all jokes aside, the bye week is just going to be more time for us to improve and to kind of fine-tune that offense. And I think we're going to see just another step in that evolution of getting Travion and Judkins involved in how they use those two guys. And then hopefully we can get to that point in the game where we can get those guys that are probably going to end up being redshirted some playing time later in the game. So definitely excited for this one just because it's a noon game. It's going to be the primetime game on Fox, the big noon kickoff. But I think it's just going to be more just another game to get the fans excited before we kick off conference play here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I think they might be slightly better than these two MAC teams that we've played so far this season. But, I mean, like you hit it right where, I mean, it's just going to be another stepping stone to getting better, to hopefully getting the starters out by, mid-third quarter, games in hand, get a lot of these young guys in, get them some more experience. I'd really love to see Devin Brown at least get a whole quarter in this game, which would be, I think, pretty ideal, just to get him a little bit going more in a forward direction instead of just having to sit there and watch Will. But I mean, lately in the first two contests, games have been in hand, and Ryan Day's been pretty attuned to keeping Will Howard in the game for a while. But I think, you got a week to get better, a week to get healthy. I think, it's going to be a better contest than the previous two, but still should be a easy win for the Buckeyes today.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I do think Marshall so far is probably the highest level opponent that Ohio State has played to this point. Again, that's not really saying much because this non-conference schedule has been kind of underwhelming, to be honest.
So you got to think, though. You got to think because last year it was this season. It was supposed to be Washington.
Yeah,
that we were supposed to play Washington, but because of the conference restructure and they didn't want to have us traveling so much. So
I believe we pick up Alabama next year for
Texas.
I think it's Texas. It's Texas.
Texas to open the year.
Alabama's like another 2 or 3 years away, I think, because you have a home and home with Texas, and then I think after that is the Alabama series, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah. So if we get any flack from whoever, Michigan fans or anyone else in conference for scheduling a week out of conference, it's going to change. And I don't think they schedule this stuff, years in advance. So I don't think it's by anyone's imagination that we would start the game or start the season with these 3 games back to back without having a serious competition. So I think that'll change next year, and we'll definitely be taking advantage of those ramp-up games this season for sure.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me, at least in this game, Ohio State's really going – this will be a challenge. So you guys remember more than a couple years ago, Khalil Mack came in with Buffalo and really put himself on the map that game. This is the opportunity for Mike Green to do that for Marshall. Edge, outside linebacker, 6'4", 246 pounds. He already has 3.5 sacks this year and 14 total tackles. He's a very good player. And Jordan Reed from ESPN was talking about how he's a guy that Ohio State really better key on, because if they don't, he could have a Khalil Mack type of performance against the Buckeyes. He is that good. He is that type of player that can wreck a game. And at this point right now, he also shared the following stats. He is leads FBS in pressure percentage at 23.3%, tied in all of FBS in sacks. And he said he is one of the best in the country. So again, I hope Ohio State's offensive line continues to improve like we've seen, because if not, this could be a little bit of a long day for Will Howard as far as really taking some hits in this game. But Marshall, that's where their strength is, guys, is on that defensive line. If you're Ohio State, how do you like Marshall's defensive line against Ohio State's offensive line? Because we know in the past that there have been, not this year per se, but even last year, Ohio State has struggled against premier pass rushers. How do you guys think the Buckeyes are going to game plan around Mike Green and the rest of this Marshall defensive line, considering that is their biggest strength?
Prime opportunity to get the run game going again, right? You saw what they did against Western Michigan. The run game was very prominent pretty early on. Obviously, other than Jeremiah Smith with his 80-yard touchdown in the first quarter. But, I think it's going to be another game where they're really going to focus on running the ball. Donovan Jackson back in the lineup. He's going to be good to go for today, which is huge. I think they're just going to focus on running the ball and then kind of open up the pass from the run, which, is how every team should operate their offense. But especially with this Buckeye team, you could almost argue 3-headed monster in the backfield that we have right now, at least in these early games. I just really look to see them establish the run again, and it's going to open up Howard in the passing game.
Yeah, and I think something that we saw against Western Michigan was moving the pocket for Howard. So using a lot of that play action, RPO stuff, and then getting him on the outside takes a lot of pressure off the offensive line. So if you're moving Howard away from Green on the line there, it's going to be a little bit harder for him to make that run across the field to get to him. So I bet we see a lot of that early and let that offensive line kind of settle into the game.
Yeah, and I think you got to start and just establish the run game, because, again, Marshall, it's a small sample size because they've only played 2 games, but playing Stony Brook, playing Virginia Tech. I mean, at this point, they've only allowed 130 passing yards per game. Now, again, you can say level of competition, but Virginia Tech's on that list. They lost that game, but Virginia Tech was able to run the ball. Right now, the biggest thing with Marshall, their sack percentage on defense is 16% sack percentage, and that is currently second in the country. So they get after the quarterback. They do a great job at getting after the quarterback. I mean, you have right now, like if you look at Marshall, besides Mike Green, like he is the one that leads the way. J.J. Hawkins has a sack. Dylan Davis, Raquan Thompson, Thompson, Amin Foster, even at corner. So they like to send corner blitzes. It's going to be a challenge for Ohio State's offensive line because so far you have not seen anyone that can get to Will Howard, but Mike Green will be a challenge for the Buckeye offensive line today. Moving to the offensive side of the ball, guys, like what have you not seen so far from Ohio State's offense that something you want to see today?
I would say a lot of our passes have been shorter routes. Even like the ones that Jeremiah Smith has broken open for touchdowns. They've been off the screens or slant routes or short curls, and Carnell Tate had a short curl route. I'd really like to see Will Howard push the ball downfield a little bit more, just because we haven't seen it as much. He's throwing it downfield, but it hasn't been a prominent feature of the offense. So for me, that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a couple of deep balls and see if we can't just test those corners early.
I mean, I'd like to see maybe Judkins and Trey get involved in the passing game a little bit too. I mean, we really haven't seen a whole lot of that. Now, to be fair, so early in the season, you don't really want to open up, all those extra plays and show some of the screen plays and stuff like that to get the running backs involved. But I mean, I feel like even in the checkdowns, they haven't been used as much because they just haven't been needed. So maybe get Trey and Quinshon involved in the passing game a little bit, maybe just to kind of throw some different looks out there. But again, it's hard to say what I want to see because it's so early in the season still. You don't want to open up the whole can of worms and throw the whole playbook out there quite yet with it being so early before conference play. But I'd still like to see them get involved a little bit. I know Trey's only got like 2 catches on the year. I'm not sure if Quinshon has any yet. So
I want to see 4 birds.
Throw them deep, baby.
I'll go 4 birds.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I'm in too.
I do want to see, kind of like you said, JD, I do want to see Will Howard push the ball down the field more. I want to see the snap count has been ramping up little by little. And like I said, week 2, he led Ohio State in snaps at the tight end position. I want to see Jelani Thurman more involved on offense. And he very well, it just might be where that's just not going to be the case. I mean, but he's got the most athletic ability out of anybody in that room. I think they clearly looked for him in the end zone against Western Michigan, and unfortunately, the throw was a little bit too. You could have made the argument Thurman should find a way to catch that, but the throw could have been a little bit better. I want to see Jelani Thurman more involved in the offense because I just think he is a mismatch for the Buckeyes, and I think if you can get that confidence established in him now, by the time you get to Big Ten play, he could be a crucial part of this offense. And I think you're going to need that type of athleticism from the tight end position because right now, G. Scott Jr., Will Kazmarik's more of a blocker. G. Scott Jr. is a leadership guy. Like, I need a guy who is athletic in the passing game at the tight end position because you're missing that with Cade Stover off to the NFL. So that's at least what I want to see. And then real quick on the defensive side, guys, what do you want to see from the Buckeye defense today? I think for me, just don't give up any big plays to Marshall because I think that's just the biggest thing. You're coming off a bye week. It's an easy opportunity to Marshall comes out first play of the game, tries to go deep, and they could hit a deep shot. Like you see that in college football. Some of these teams like to really establish it early and go for a kill shot to start the game. Just don't give up any big plays to Marshall. Don't even give them the sense that they have any confidence coming off a bye week.
Yeah, I mean, Marshall's running backs had over 200 yards in the season already through 2 games. So, I mean, they can definitely run it a little bit. Now, again, strength of competition, it's hard to say. But either way, it's still they can run the ball a little bit. So I'd like to see them at least make Earl Stone kind of beat us, or Stone Earl, whatever his name is. I think I got it backwards, but just make him beat us. I'd like to see CJ Hicks get a lot of play time in this type of game. Let him come on some exotic blitzes, see what he can do in some coverage. I just like to see him get on the field early to just kind of. And I know we've been waiting for 3 years to get him out there, but I'd like to just see him get out there and be out there for a while. But, I mean, I guess it's up to threes, James Laurinaitis, to make the decision. But I'd like to see him out there quite a bit today.
Well, that's fair. I need more Arvell. I told you guys I need more Arvell.
Well, yeah.
Because I think I am one of that dude's biggest fans, and I think he's the next great linebacker at Ohio State, just personally. Oh, anyway, continue, JD.
I want to see. So I know this is kind of nitpicking, but we really haven't seen a Caleb Downs splash play. He's made some plays. He's obviously really good. He's never out of position on defense, but I want to see a pick six or a big play from Caleb Downs where he really just pops off the screen. And it's more like luxury than anything because he's been playing really well, but I just want to see. I want to see that number 2 cross that end zone with the ball in his hand.
Man, that would be incredible. I will say nice. The one play that stood out to me about Caleb Downs so far was that sack he had, I believe, against Akron. Just dude's a freight train, man. Just literally a silver bullet. Let's start one last thing before we decide. Just talk about the spread and then give our predictions. One bold prediction for this game, and then we'll recap it on Monday and see if any of these actually happen. It's got to be bold. So for me, I have Jeremiah Smith goes for 203 touchdowns on Saturday.
Oh my God!
It's got to be bold. It's got like that. That's what it is. So you have to shoot stars, and then we'll see throughout the season if we can actually get any right.
Okay.
Julian Sand will have more passing touchdowns than Will Howard in this game.
Okay.
I'm going to say James Peoples breaks 100 yards rushing and scores a touchdown.
Okay. All right.
I like that one.
This will be fun. And then we'll and then on
203 tutties?
Yeah.
And firmly finds himself in the Heisman conversation.
Oh yeah. Firmly in the conversation. But on Tuesday, guys, what we're going to do is we'll go back over and see if any of them were at least close. Mine probably the most outlandish, but you never know. Anyways, as we're wrapping things up, guys, Marshall is a 40.5 point underdog in this game. First off, do you think Ohio State covers that spread? And what's your score prediction for today's game?
We've covered every game, right?
Yep. So far they have.
Okay. I don't think we covered this one.
Interesting. Okay.
I think it's going to be like 39. I'm thinking like 52 to 13.
Okay.
Ooh. All right.
52-13.
Dude, 40.5 is a lot. That's a big number.
It is.
I think Buckeyes 49-10. I'm right there with you, JD. I think 49-10. I don't think they cover. Dude, 40.5 is huge. That's a big number.
Yeah. I agree with you guys. I don't see them covering this one either. I got Ohio State 48, Marshall 17. So I don't know. I do. Like I said, Marshall so far is the best team Ohio State's faced. And again, the bar is not very high for that. But they got some solid players for sure. I think it's gonna be a battle, especially early in this game. Both teams coming off a bye week, so they're gonna be ready to go. But as we're wrapping things up, guys, is there anything you want to add before we wrap up this a Buckeye game day preview?
Yes, sir.
I think so. Jeremiah Smith, brand new Red Bull athlete, first NIL deal. Can't wait to see him drinking Red Bull on the sidelines during a game. That would be great. Make
Yeah,
me go
I'm sure.
fast. Red Bull make me go fast.
I'm sure the coaches
Red Bull
are
gives
thrilled
you
about
wings,
that
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, my star receiver now has an NIL deal with Red Bull, so now I got to see him drink it. Lovely. But anyway, that's a really good point. I appreciate bringing up that. Probably should share from now on more like big time NIL deals some of our guys are making, just because I mean you kind of hit it, JD. He is the first Red Bull athlete, so I'm sure there will be more, but he is the first. But
And
everyone that's
Marshall, you get the Tudor's biscuits.
Yeah, hey, all you can eat
All you can
day,
eat Tudor's biscuits.
all day long.
Devin Brown, get ready to learn Thundering Herd. All right. Thank you, everyone that's tuned into this Ohio State game day preview against Marshall. Enjoy the game. We will be back, of course, live next Tuesday. Tuesday night at 7 o'clock here on the YouTube channel. Again, like and subscribe if you are brand new to the channel. Thank you all again. And as always, go Buckeyes.